obviously. There was a rumor that the police had killed a kid during this protest. And so I think part of that rumor also incited a lot of the kind of insurrection Friday night. But another thing too was with protests, you have police, and with police's heavy-handed repression tactics and marches. So police here still use water cannons. Typically, if you don't have an authorized march, you don't get more than a block before you have armored trucks coming out with water cannons that spray tear gas, riot police. And so barricades, rock throwing, kind of like what's seen as being kind of militant political action is seen, especially in poor neighborhoods, as a form of self-defense, where you can only actually have a nonviolent march or a nonviolent protest, where you have old ladies banging pots and pans, if you have these forms of self-defense. So, yeah, basically from Friday rush hour until 9 p.m., people were ripping down signs, benches, building roads. And because of that, in every single part of the city, the police just, couldn't respond to things that were going on. And then there was a collective idea, this is how people described it, of, oh, you know what, we can do what we want, let's loot stores. And so stores were looted, buildings were set on fire. I won't kind of linger too much on the kind of right wing stuff. You can look at pictures. But yeah, and so, but no one knew that the scale was so extreme that the entire city. More importantly, no one knew that in response, the government would call for a state of emergency. So for here in Chile, state of emergency, like I said before, would like have military on the street public order, suspend the right to assemble and the right to free speech, as well as the military basically, give announcements of curfew is at 10 p.m. today. And so for a country that had one of the brutal dictatorships in Latin America, where there was a curfew for 17 years, the military run the country, old people were terrified. They're like, oh no, this is like the 60s again, where there were these huge social movements. So for example, like the Corredor movement, where people would squat around Santiago, build neighborhoods, defend them from the police. And also like the collective agrarian movements in the 60s, where people would squat land and take possession of it for farming. And these movements created a context in which presidents like Salvador Allende would be elected, so use that socialist right to enact this democratic process. And so a lot of other people see this as a return for that, where these
move closer to the microphone.
Yeah, the audio is a little. It's okay.
How's that now?
It's good.
Okay, great. Oh, actually, can you move? I'm hearing my.
Not now.
I'll try to mute myself. I'm gonna mute us.
Yeah. Okay, great.
You're doing great.
They can't hear you now.
Oh, okay.
So just kind of like wave if you can't hear me like that or something. Cool. Yeah, so old people were scared as shit because the military's back on the streets. Young people are pissed because the military's back on the streets. So in 24 hours, you have what was a huge movement tied around the metro into a nationwide protest around this president's got to go, the military has to go, in part because everyone just refused that, this would be a way to respond to problems in the country. Let's see, I'm going to go through my notes. And so the first week, a lot of what happened because there was no public transit was based on territories. So say you're living in one neighborhood, there's no way to get anywhere. Also, you don't know when the military are going to call a curfew. It could be 7 p.m., it could be 6 p.m., it could be 10 p.m. So this also continued a weekend of diffused conflict in little localities. And that could be everything from, people building barricades at the end of the streets to people defying the curfew and being out with their neighbors until, hours after the curfew. So one kind of thing I saw that really cool was people would, come out of their apartment building through the gate, and then on the street bang pots and pans, and then yell at the police who were across the street from them, like build barricades and engage in these conflicts, and then if it got too intense, just run back inside. So there was a lot of people meeting these people for the first time, a lot of different ages and demographics, kind of like congregating in neighborhoods. And so one of the things that's happened this first week was this idea of, okay, we need to talk about what's happening because none of us expected this to happen. So this took the form of two different kinds of like new social organizations. One were like cabildos, which is like a town hall. So every single political party goes to the town hall. Every mayor's office, city hall goes to the town hall. But then also like there were like cabildos called for to talk about like ecological issues, feminism, but then also cabildos on the basis of neighborhoods. So my neighborhood had cabildo, all my other friends' neighborhoods had cabildos, and then even apartment complexes themselves would. And these became, on the first week we're talking about, our feelings, what's happening, how scared we are. But then fast forward to right now, a lot of these cabildos are now called territorial assemblies. A lot of people have, you good? Okay. Use these as a way to form these committees to do anything from a community kitchen to neighborhood health initiative, education, childcare, cultural events. And so basically, this Streets of Santiago became the impetus for thinking through what it means to kind of like be as neighbors and think through territory and think about like what kinds of things we need if we know all these institutions around us aren't working for us. So now we're getting into what are these institutions I'm talking about. So in the past 10 years, there's been, I think, 3 or 4 major social movements around Chilean kind of social services and law. So the big one was the student movement back in 2011 around the privatized education system. 2 years ago, No Más AFP started, which is the privatized pension system. There's also a major movement against the ecological destruction of various parts of Chile as a result of extraction and logging and fisheries, basically where these different zones are called zones of sacrifice. So the government basically allows a company to move in knowing it'll destroy that entire ecology, but allow it because it's like one zone they're sacrificing. So people in these areas have cancer clusters, ulcers, the food they grow or the fish they harvest is toxic. And every single one of these movements hits a brick wall. And the brick wall is that the Constitution right now in Chile was written during the Pinochet dictatorship. And when the dictatorship ended, it was ended by a referendum that was basically a national vote that said, do you want 8 more years of Pinochet? Yes or no? And naturally, the no vote won. But the people who set the terms of how the current electoral system is made, set the terms of how everything from healthcare to pensions to basically everything that everyone relies on to survive was set by the dictator. And fast forward to now with the kind of like massive Asian movement where likewise, why is there no money for public transit? Oh, because the idea that public transit is something you pay for, it's not a free good, is also based on the Constitution. And also, why is the military not treating it based on the Constitution? So one major movement that's emerged is, okay, let's change the Constitution because this whole idea of democracy now is a farce because this president can bring the military back on the street. And also all these things that we want to change can't just change by small reforms that they can throw at us, but rather we need to have a new constitution, not just based off of parliament, but like a new assembly that's made up of people.
Woo!
And so that's kind of one major thing that's emerged in the past few years. But it's also not all of it, because the other question remains is, okay, so you want to have new, constitution to like organize how Chilean politics works, but what does that look like? What does a new kind of form of healthcare look like? What does a new form of pension system, like food? And so a lot of people have gotten involved with neighborhood assemblies, not only by envisioning them as kind of a basis of a future constitutional assembly, but then also like a way to experiment with what does it mean for like neighborhood health initiatives that like can be the basis of the future Chile, or childcare, or like, food and like getting food needs made in the neighborhood. Okay, how am I doing on time? I can go through my notes real quick. And yeah, so